Chase Ingram, along with me is Adrian Conway, and Mike Arsenault is down on the field. Your standings after 3 events as we come into the final event of day number 2. Tia-Clair Toomey won the first 2 events, got 7th in the last one. She stands on top of the leaderboard, but only by 15 points over Emily Rolfe, who is not a bad runner herself.
Absolutely not. They're going to be going head-to-head right here in these back-to-back scores that are going to accumulate for this specific event here, as we're going to watch it unfold here this evening.
1,600-meter run to start, and then at the 12-minute mark of a running clock, they'll go into the field portion of a 50-yard sprint, back carry, 75 back carry, and a 100-yard sprint to the finish line. But we just saw a dramatic ending to Heat 1's 1,600-meter run. 4 laps around the track. Don't forget that, of these athletes that are taking the track for the first time tonight. These are your top athletes after 3 events. Your overall leader in lane number 10, Tia-Clair Toomey, your 6-time fittest woman on earth, is going for 7, but she has some company. And she'll have a little bit of a challenge in this 1,600-meter run because there's some pretty good runners in this field.
You're right about that, Chase. This is a thick field of quality runners, all itching for a start, and all with plenty of experience, too. We do have a good amount of rookies here at this CrossFit Games, but the vets here that are eyeing up that start line right now understand how to create their own space and run their own race in an event this long.
Stand by.
1,600-meter start, Heat 2 of 2. 4 laps around the track. In red, your overall leader after 3 events, Tia-Clair Toomey, has won the CrossFit Games 6 times in a row. Took out last year to start a family. Beautiful baby girl with her husband Shane. Back in competition this year. Just behind her is Emily Rolfe, who's also second on the leaderboard by just 15 points. Right above Tia Toomey to her left in the yellow shorts is Paige Semenza, who finds herself in the top 10, 9th overall.
Yeah, Paige Semenza, one of those athletes that has showed up to the CrossFit Games several times. She's a veteran. Not often in the spotlight, but someone who has a rich history in steady performances and also field sports. Sports on the rink. Hockey player, right? She's used to changing direction. She's doing a lot of different things. She's got a diverse capacity for energy systems.
And that screams athlete, and that's what we're out here. It's track and field. It's called that for a reason. Just to the left of Tia Toomey in red is Haley Adams in the black and gray. Haley Adams took off last year. Focus on herself. Get things back together. Has been a consummate star at these CrossFit Games.
She's a fan favorite for a reason. We watched her come up through the teen rankings, Chase. She had been the fittest on earth as a teenager and then stepped in and had immediate success in the division with the grown women that we see on the field now. And as she's grown into herself, she took that year off. And now she's back, having a great time. She's happy, she's healthy, and clearly she came to compete.
You got a front leading pack of 6 athletes. Tia Toomey, Haley Adams, Amy Kringle, Haiti Canyon, Emily Rolfe.
The unique thing about us seeing the 1,600 meters go down at the CrossFit Games is this is the first time that we've really tested anything with the semblance of a 1-mile time trial, and it's a benchmark of sorts within any fitness modality. But you can recall the moments in your growing up, Chase, elementary school, junior high, high school. You went out and you ran
4
a mile.
laps around the track.
That's right. And it was either a part of PE curriculum or maybe even something for fun if you had a unique group of friends that were willing to suffer that along with you.
Also in this lead pack of 6 is Bethany Flores, who had a 2nd place finish to start the weekend yesterday, which involved a 3.5-mile run and an 800-meter swim. Paige Semenza in between the lead pack and the chase pack. Coming up on our 2nd lap, halfway through. A little bit slower pace than we saw the first heat. Of course, the first heat thought it was 3 laps, not 4.
And even as we watch these ladies really settle into their pace here, beginning lap number 3, we notice differences in cadence. Tia-Clair Toomey with a bit of a higher cycle rate with her feet, the shorter, the choppier steps, making contact with the ground directly underneath her. Haley, a little bit of an elongated stride. You notice her shoulders bouncing side to side just a touch more. It's all preference for the athlete, but what's most important is for them to understand where their strengths lie. If you run with an open gait, It could punish your hamstrings if you're not used to it. Watch out for your calf muscles. If you run short, it could blow up your quads. So these athletes got to be making this choice and be familiar with where their threshold is throughout.
You're just joining us now. This isn't the first event they've done. They've already taxed all the muscles you're already talking about. This is the 4th event over 2 days. We still have 2 days left to go. At the 3.5 minute mark, your fastest 1600 was set by Alexis Raptis at 5:34.01, with Brooke Welch just behind her at 5:34.28. Haley Adams and Tia Toomey, shoulder to shoulder. We saw the same thing in the Northeast semifinal in event 1. Amy Kringle just behind them. Emily Rolfe to the right. Bethany Flores is still there. Haiti Canio just got dropped from the pack.
You make that reference. This pack selection is a really important thing. You're either chasing or being chased. You're most concerned with the athletes in front of you if you're not the leader. And then if they break that band, if they break the tension of their lead and can pull away, then you're only concerned with keeping the lead of someone behind you. There's a huge test in psychology, even the way that these ladies structure themselves amongst one another through the race.
Final lap. Tina beats 5:34. That was Alexis Raptis. Coming into the home stretch. Second straightaway before we get to the end. Haley Adams trying to hold off Tia Toomey. Amy Kringle, the rookie, is hanging strong with 2 of the fittest women to ever walk the earth.
Still head-to-head, these two. Haley's got to be forcing herself to make a choice now. Is she going to try to make the move and cut Tia off and minimize the distance she has to travel, or will she try to beat her on the outside, which is a greater distance to travel?
Final turn, 5:34 is the time to beat. That's 24 seconds from now as they move into the final 100 meters. And here's the kick. Why not Tia Toomey? Here comes Amy Kringle.
Wow.
Tia Toomey, the fittest woman to ever walk the planet. It's also the fastest here tonight at Farrington Field. And she beats the time set by Alexis Raptis by 4 seconds. Amy Kringle at a 5:30, that'll do it as well. Haley Adams 5:33. So your top 3 in this heat are the top 3 in this 1600 meter between both teams. Danielle Brandon, Emma Lawson, Maddie Sturts crossed the finish line. Just approaching the 6 minute mark. Part 2 will start in 6 minutes. It's a 2-scored event. And as athletes are laboring across the finish line, Tia Toomey gets an ice pack to cool off. It's a hot summer night here in Texas.
It's cooler than I expected. I'll give them that. It's a beautiful night to be running here in Texas, but immediately these athletes trying to drop their core temperature, allow themselves the reprieve and recovery, opportunity to reset to have success on the part B of this test. Now look at this final stretch. We come around. Tia was able to hold just enough of that fast twitch muscle fiber and kick and drive in reserve to control these ladies and keep them at bay from behind. I was very impressed, Chase, with the final kick from Amy Kringle in order to surpass Haley Adams there on the outside and make her move for number 2.
Now, important thing to note, how they're scoring this event. As Tia Toomey does what it looks like a shoe change.
Yeah. Another
listen, you go from the rubber track to the synthetic grass field.
Yep.
Different modality. We're sprinting. We're not just running a 1600.
Hey, if we're coming back from traditional sports, I don't run the same track spikes that I wear to play football on my football cleats. So she's just trying to give herself the best advantage possible.
Your results for heat number 2. Tia Toomey holding off Amy Kringle. Haley Adams in 3rd. Emily Rolfe just behind him in 4th, with Bethany Flores rounding out your top 5. Part 1 is done. Part 2 is getting set here for the second and final heat and final action for the individual women here Friday night at Farrington Field.
And that was one of my questions, man. 5:30. That was kind of like that magic sweet spot number. It was 5:30 for the women, 5 minutes even for the men. How many times are we going to see in that neck of the woods? It's one of those benchmark times that athletes might get on a fresh day. But we're out here. Event number 3. They went through that grinder of a chipper this morning, and then they actually also went through that all-out version just a bit ago, and now we're here.
We'll be here in just a few minutes. Part 2 of Heat 2 for the individual women coming up next.
Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt good in a while. They want us to simmer down. Can you hear me now? Am I going in and out? I stop and just look around to see if you're with me now. Tell me, are you with me now? Ready to put it down. Starting at the bottom, I'm ready for bottom, but they won't forgive me now. You really ain't ready now. You haters just in the crowd. But still, I just look around. Now you with me now? Real coming out your never fight. Y'all want every black nigga be with your pride. Why these niggas double turning the shy, huh? Cell phone became brother. Internet replace your mother. You leave your homies on red. No wonder all your friends dead. Jealousy was a centerpiece. So my best friends turning enemies. Sabotage my identity. Why they wanna treat me like a Kennedy? They wanna fuck the legacy. Working hard, I cut off the extremities. I'll never be another piece in your recipe for social supremacy. Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt this good in a while. They want us to simmer down. Can you hear me now? Am I going in and out? I stop and just look around.
Part 2 ready. Happy Stars on the field. 70-pound sandbags as we get set for the second part of track and field.
Hey, we went longer, and now we're going to go short and really fast, and we've already seen this play out for another heat. Let's see how they treat this back stretch of this 100-meter sprint.
Your lane assignments for the second part of heat number 2, individual event number 4 for the women. As you said, Adrian, we just finished that 1,600-meter run, and now we are going to sprint on the field. As these are your top athletes after 3 scored events so far in 2 days of competition. And we saw in event number 3 with Firestorm, rookie Gracie Walton got her first win of the CrossFit Games.
She did, and she really put on exhibition her ability to put out high amounts of power. And that's what we like in athletes with a short event like this, where it's going to be a weighted run, a 70-pound start. How well can she put that power into the mechanics of sprinting and turn and run with weight on her back?
And with an event like this, it screams athletes will succeed, and Paige Semenza is that athlete.
That's right. She's got a lot of experience playing hockey growing up and playing a diverse amount of sports. And I like Paige for this because we just went from Run Energy System to another, and guess what? She's got experience in all of them.
Starting at 12, 50-yard sprint to the Happy Star. The time to beat, set in heat number 1 by Georgia Pryor, 1:16. They'll pick up the bag, 70 pounds, run it back to the start line, 50 yards. Tia Toomey in the lead.
And that's what I like really about that start for Tia. She wasn't the first one to the bag, but her pickup and transition away from the start line there was so faster than the field that it allowed her to gain an advantage. And if she can do that each time here, it's going to favor her very well for that final sprint coming back.
75 yards to the bag, and it's Tia Toomey and Paige Semenza. On the shoulder first is Toomey in the leader red. Can anybody track her down? Emily Rolfe to her left, who's second place overall. But Tia is trying to hold off the field, and she'll drop the bag, and we'll have a 100-yard sprint to the finish. And the race is on. Tia Toomey, can she go back to back? Time to be 1:16. She already won the 1,600. Can she go for the sprint? Yes! Tia Toomey.
It's a lot of fitness right there, Chase. What we see there is very hard to put on display verbally because she makes it look easy. And it's very easy to understate what just happened. The 5:30 mile, 4 to 5 minute rest and reset. And no, by the way, you're going to sprint not just the length of the football field, but several times with 70 pounds on your back, and then open it up against a field of the fittest woman on earth. And she does it time and time and time again. That's why she's the GOAT.
Tia Toomey gets her 38th CrossFit Games event win and 99th top 10.
And we're live. If you look at this right here from the start position, Chase, this is where we saw, this is what the run would be like for her. Very paced and controlled from the start line, paced and controlled to the weight every time. She created separation each time she picked up the star. And on the final stretch, I think she knew in the back of her mind there needed to be a particular amount of separation to give her an advantage to hold off some of the faster, perhaps more explosive sprinters in the field. And she did just that.
What a performance we've seen so far. Tia Toomey has won 3 events of the 4 we've had with a time of 1:30.